Yeah.
Morning, Divish. How you doing?
Oh, my trato llamar. Him no make you happy. No. Him no make you feel like
Hey, Masya. How are you?
they both turning my way. Yeah. I can feel you warming up to me. Oh. Think I got a shot like a free throw. Ready to play the game with no cheat code. Girl, you took my heart like a repo. All these other girls not even close. Something's telling me that she knows.
Right, a bit of a quiz here.
In my mind, things I would do.
Divish, I'll ask you.
Stuck in my mind, long
So when Price did this,
thinking of you. Stuck in my mind.
would you be looking for a retracement here to short on Nas?
Did not see you last week. Told me you will make it up to me. Just wanted you closer, closer. Electric feel when you brush up on me.
Be interesting to get your thoughts.
Got a shot like a free throw. Ready to play the game with no cheat code. Girl, you took my heart like a repo. All these other girls not even close. Something's telling me that she knows. Stuck in my mind, things I would do for you. Stuck in my mind, long nights thinking of you.
So you got the breaker structure that's happened here. You would wait for Price to come back into this supply before shorting?
Things I would do for you. Stuck in my mind, long nights thinking of you. Stuck in my mind. Oh my God, when you're stuck in my mind. Oh my trato llamar. Oh my vibe when you're mine.
Is that what you said? Pull back into supply up here and then short. Right. This is where it's super important. Let's see where Price is. Prices create equal highs here. So at this supply, we got supply at the extreme here. So we're sitting at the top of this. Now, I kind of shorted here yesterday, just seeing the internal change of character happen, and then we'll draw the pips on that and see where the zone is, and then short. Right, okay, and then Price kind of came up and kind of came down here. What you got to remember here is what we were discussing earlier about strong highs and weak highs. In this downtrend, where is the strong high? It's this high up here, because we had this pullback where we had an internal breaker structure, then we had this retracement, and then Price virtually just kind of crashed with this entire push to the downside. So the high is here and the low is here. Now, if I mark my fib from the high to the low here, you could see Price mitigated that fib, pulled back, and came back into retest, and then had this drop to the downside. Now, when we had this change of character here, if we now mark up our fib from this low to this high, you could see we had a pullback into this fib area. Yes, we have a little bit of inefficiency and imbalance here, but we had a pullback into this fib area and Price started to push to the upside. Now, higher time frame, this is where it's important to look at these things. Higher time frame, you could see where's our 4-hour swing structure. So the last pullback we had was this, and then we had this push up. So all of this was internal, until what? Until we pull back into this fib zone over here. So you can see price wicked into this here and then started to reject. Now there is still some potential downside. You know, we do have an area of demand over here that price can kind of come into. So price wicked into that and continued to push up. So where we are right now, it's it's pretty tough. We are at the top of this structure now. As long as this doesn't break, then we can expect price to continue pushing down, take out this weak low to come deeper into this 4-hour retracement before we see a shift. But at the same time, we need to realize that price might not want to come into here. So if this high breaks, then we already know that price is pulled back into our fib area. Now there's probably like a, you know, price you could see is wicked into the 1-hour demand here, and that aligns with our fib, and on the hourly price is pushing higher, so we could continue pushing up from this point. So to just short here would be pretty tough and pretty difficult based on everything else that we've kind of discussed. So, you know, those are the key importances of seeing market structure from a multitude of different time frames. Now this was my gold trade. Again, just a continuation off of what we discussed in the one-to-ones, and obviously yesterday price was within this region here, and I said there was no trade here until we kind of pull back into this region down over here. Now I took most of my partials slightly below here, I think it was, like within this kind of region here. Why? Because again, like I said, we haven't taken out the previous high, which is this. You know, we're close to it, but if we haven't taken that out, realistically, we're trading within this so-called range. You know, because there's the previous swing low, there is the high, there is the low. All of this is just the range that we're trading within. So at any point, price could roll over or price could continue higher. Morning, Adams. So it's about managing risk and being, you know, responsible enough to understand when to take partials off the table. And again, you know, I took partials off the table at like 160 pips, which is a monster trade in itself. But again, lower time frame, perfect trade. So you could see here now, 15-minute chart, you could see there's still some inefficiency resting below here. Just going to tighten this up a bit. There's still some inefficiency resting below here. So I'm not just going to trade here until I see lower time frame shift, because price could come all the way down here. It could at least wick down into this region here to mitigate this before pushing higher. So I'm not going to enter here without seeing lower time frame shift. So if I now go down to the lower time frame, you can see that's what we kind of got. So we had this push down, we had this pullback, we had this breakdown, we had supply over here, price broke above, pulled back into our fib zone and into this area of demand, which again you can see on the 5-minute, there's the area of demand. Mark out my fib from the high to low, boom, perfect tap in, and there's my sniper entry on this, you know. So again, it's about being patient and waiting, because if I replay this back here for a second, now if price was going to continue bearish, you know, we had this minor pullback and then we broke down, so we've kind of now created supply over here. You know, we've created supply in this region. So realistically, if price is going to continue pushing down to mitigate this, we're going to see price kind of roll over here to fill out the rest of that inefficiency. But that's not what we saw. You know, we saw some nice bullish momentum kick in and price break above these. And then as we come into this region, you know, there's the tap in and there's the entry, and then after that price goes away. So it was a nice entry. And again, like I said, I've taken most off the table. If price continues up, I'll let that runner run. If not, then it kind of is what it is. And AUD JPY as well, you know, this has been pretty nice. Now going back to AUD JPY, originally we were looking at shorts up over here when we had an internal change of character. But what did we get? We never got a deep enough retracement. Price never came back in order to give us a potential entry. Now you could see on the 4-hour, we have this minor level of supply. So on the lower time frame, now if I go back to the 4-hour, and I just mark this up here, that aligns with this region here. So this was an area where I was going to take some partials off the table, which I did, which was still at like close to 70 pips. But what was the entry reason here? The entry reason here again was, you could see we had a daily breaker structure here. Now as we had a daily breaker structure, we had 4-hour lower lows and lower highs being formed here. Then here we had a change of character, and then here we had a breaker structure. Yeah, Masya, comes with a lot of practice, But here you could see we had a change of character over here on the 4-hour, just within this region. And that, what did that indicate to us? That we've entered a daily pullback. So where's our daily high? Our daily high is here. Where's our daily low? Our daily low is here. We had a daily breaker structure, so you know, this change of character is telling us we entered a pullback. And then here you could see we had a 4-hour breaker structure. So we're still working our way back into this area of unmitigated supply and imbalance before potentially we see the next daily push to the downside to come down and mitigate this area here. So you can see change of character, daily breaker structure, daily breaker structure. So price should be targeting the next week low eventually once the pullback is complete. So at this point, when we had this shift, we entered our 4-hour pullback. So this is the strong low. That's the weak high. So you can see price closes within our fib area, and the pullback at that point is complete. But how is the pullback complete? You know, so we're already within that higher time frame here. We already have a higher time frame understanding of where price is gravitating towards and why. And then here you could see we had a breaker structure to the downside here. And then immediately we had a change of character to the upside. So as we had a change of character to the upside, similar scenario, perfect pullback, rinse and repeat. But again, you know, it all comes with the understanding of the higher time frame. You know, understanding structure from that wider perspective, understanding where it's heading, understanding that on the daily we're overall bearish, but we had a change of character, 4-hour shifted bullish, we're in the daily pullback. 4-hour had a change of character, the 4-hour pullback is complete, the internal structure had a change of character, we're pushing back to the upside because we haven't fulfilled the daily pullback yet. So this whole string of events is what enables the confidence to enter. And again, it's just the same mechanical set of rules to determine market structure and a mechanical set of rules to determine our entry criteria. No difference, you know, no difference whenever we enter a trade. It's the same every single time. And you could see, you know, like I said, I've secured 65 plus pips, which is phenomenal. I have a runner of like 30% running, and I'll let that be. I'll let that be, whether it comes back or it goes, but the confidence of taking the trade, and you can see it's virtually, and it doesn't happen all the time, but it's virtually zero drawdown. You can see it. Inch Perfect just taps into the point where I'm expecting it to, and it's perfect entry criteria. Market structure's been identified already over here. Our entry criteria has been met. We've had a shift in market structure. We have volume. We have imbalance. We have change of character / breaker structure. We have price that aligns with our fib confluence. And then the rest is history. The rest is absolutely history. You'll have people that sit all week and try to catch 60 pips. And, we're catching these on a daily in the Discord. Remember, guys, if there's any pairs you want me to have a look at, just drop a message and I'll happily have a look at it. AUDCHF is in that key area on the daily chart, like I said. Look at it perfectly. There's that daily. So this could be a really good trade, guys. Like a really good trade. Where's our next daily swing structure? It's this. So we could see a nice pullback at least into here, if not much further. This pullback here is like 450 pips. So you can see prices perfectly. Prices perfectly reacted from the 50% of that GAN box of the zone that I've marked from that daily swing. Now again, this is from a much higher time frame. This is a weekly swing structure, and we pulled back into this area of demand. And I'm expecting a big push up from this point, but for now we have our weekly range, we have inefficiency here, we have supply resting here. We could see a nice push up from this point, and you could already see we're looking at getting a next daily engulfing candle. So if we go down to the lower time frame, we have this area of supply. So personally, what I'll be looking, if we can get a break above this and a retest, then continuation trades to the top side. Really good area to work with. And like I said, you could see price virtually within our closes, within our 50% of our GAN box. What else do we have? Now CAD JPY is the same thing, but with CAD JPY we can see with CAD JPY, interesting here. We could see we were, daily we've had some nice bearish structure. Did we have a daily break here? We did. So I'm expecting price still to head down and fill out this inefficiency over here. We did have this push up. We did have a closure back below this range again, as you could see on a daily. So this became the daily high and this became the daily low. Price came to this extreme and then started to aggressively sell off from this strong high. Now you can currently see here's our 4-hour push to the top side, and price is perfectly reacting from this. So if we look at this on a lower time frame, again, this would have been the similar kind of trade as we had with AUD US AUD JPY. AUD JPY is definitely more cleaner because on the daily, this is bearish, and the daily pullback at this point here was complete because there's our daily push to the downside. This was our retracement to this extreme, and then you can start to see we've started to sell off, and we're just reacting to demand. So what I'll be expecting with this is a pullback back into some of these ranges up here where we have supply for potentially the next sell-off. But I would need to be confirmation because, you know, if we react to this and take out this low, then any kind of retracement is much more confirmation, because then we've shifted on the 4-hour bearish, and the shift on the 4-hour bearish is telling us that the daily pullback is complete. We can't just anticipate that the daily pullback is complete just because we've reacted to this. Yes, overall we're bearish on the daily, but we need the swing low to be taken here in order for us to continue trading this down and trade this week low on the daily time frame. So right now we're reacting to our fib to this area of demand, and we could see some upside, could see a pullback before the next continuation move to the downside. Remember guys, any pairs, just drop them in the chat, I'll have a look. So Euro AUD, it's in this area of supply, but again, Euro AUD, no trade, because we didn't have any change of character, only breaks of structure. You know, we had this high, we created these lows, so all we've done is create internal lower lows and lower highs. So for me, it's a pair that I'm just gonna avoid. Euro GBP is pretty close to coming into over here. You can see we wicked into this and we started to sell off over here. But this is where it's like super important to understand structure. You'll have some people that will be sitting there saying, oh, we had a change of character over here, and waiting for a pullback into this supply to try shorting. But you could see that the break above this previous structure happened from this low. So if we mark this low to this high, you could see all price did here was a pullback off of this breaker structure to the top side, and then came down, and then here you could see we closed above. So right now what we have is we have this low and this high, and prices within that range, and we haven't yet mitigated this 4-hour area of supply. So still need to be patient to see what price does here. GJ's in a funny spot. You know, you could see on the 4-hour GJ failed to break lows here. So where was the last structural push we had? Kind of had this, we had a pullback, we had this, we had a pullback, we had this, and then we failed to take out this previous low. So there's nothing in GJ really. GJ's, you know, looking to continue pushing up and breaking above these previous highs, and all we've had is a reaction off of this area of supply, but there's no 4-hour pullback. There's no indication of that because price has not broken any structure to the downside. You could see we perfectly respected this on a 4-hour chart and started to push to the upside. Now in the hourly we had a break below, but you know the 4-hour closed pretty messy. So GJ is probably a pair that I'm not really interested in as it stands. Pound USD. So again, we had that daily break. The 4-hour structure still Still bullish. You know, that's the previous low, that's the high. We're just now working within this high and this kind of low range. Now again, if we mark this here as a potential point of reversal, you could see price rejected that fib area. We've rejected here again. Now we are pretty messy. You know, we had this high, we had a higher low. We then kind of came above here, fell to close, wicked into this area again, and we're starting to we're pretty sideways. So GU is, you know, pretty much just in a range. So we either need to see a clear break to the downside or to the top side to really get involved with GU, and that's where the patience just sometimes needs to come in. It's like when prices like this, yes, this seems tempting to the downside because we have mitigated high time frame supply. Price is reacting to this area, but we're still within a range. You know, we've not taken out. Go to the 4-hour. We've not taken out the previous 4-hour low, which is this. And there's our high. You know, price came to this extreme and then continued pushing up. But like I've always said on higher time frame, we could see higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, lower high, and then price to roll over. But we don't need to predict that. We can see that. So there's nothing wrong with trying to short you know, short in these areas because internally, what have we had? Let's have a look at this. What was this pullback here? Yeah, so we kind of had this push up. We had a pullback. We had a push up, and then we kind of had a change of character here to the downside. And then from this point, we've pulled back into here, and we're seeing some rejection. But me personally, I would like to see a much more definitive rejection to the downside before looking at potential any shorts, which I think there is because of mitigating high time frame supply, and also because of the fact that we've had a daily breaker structure to the top side, so we can expect a daily pullback before the next push to the upside. But again, that daily pullback, we need confirmation with the 4-hour low being taken. Until that point, there's no 100% confirmation. You know, price could just come to this demand and push up, which, how likely is that? You know, we'll have to wait and see because this demand hasn't caused the previous high to break in this push to the upside. So it is kind of a range you're sitting there working within. USD CAD. So USD CAD's a bit tricky because we are kind of in a range now here on USD CAD within this kind of area. You know, we had this push up on the daily, we had a pullback, we had an internal move here. We didn't break this low or take this high. Then here we failed to break above that high, and then we come down to this demand. So we're kind of pretty sideways with USD CAD. You know, I can just see this as a build up of liquidity, and this supply zone sits nicely as a point of sell off. And at this point here in this downtrend, you could see we had a last 4-hour breaker structure here, and then we had a push above. I was waiting for some kind of potential retracement to continue buying this up until this area, but it looks like we're not going to get that, and price is just pushing up. So we do have supply within this zone. So on a lower time frame, you know, I'll be looking at once price gets into here, can we see a shift back to the downside? So I'm not keen on buying this. I'm still pretty short on this, but we'll need to wait and see. But, you know, daily is pretty indecisive because we are in this range. You know, if anything, you could kind of say We had this push up, we had a retracement, and we had this push up. We actually had a change of character here. If we're looking at it from a, you know, a more micro perspective, so you could say we had a change of character here because this is actually a retracement, and then we created this low. There's the high. This high failed to break, as you can see, but we haven't taken out this low. So since here, we've kind of been in this range back and forth. But overall, with that change of character, the expectation should be downside. So there's nothing in USD CAD right now. We've had this big push. The weight has got to be, right, okay, we have this daily area of supply that aligns with our fib. Set an alert here. And wait for price to get back into this range. Until that point, forget about it. What did you say? You said AUD NZD. AUD NZD. So AUD NZD. Personally, I'm expecting more upside. So like I said, we had this huge sell-off. Then we were in this sideways consolidation. But here you could see we broke out of it. So not only did we break out to the top side, we then perfectly pulled back into this area of fib, and then we started to continue pushing up. So at this point, the pullback was complete and we started to push up. Now, this is the push up from that fib. So as we pushed up, you could see this is more or less one push. This was the retracement. So if we now look at this on the 4-hour chart, you could see as we had the retracement, we were making 4-hour lower lows and lower highs. We then had this change of character, but more or less, this is just like one move to the top side. So now what I'm expecting is a pullback into this area of demand, which aligns with our fib, and looking for continuations to take out this previous week high. All price did here was react to this supply and enter the pullback. So now, there was two trade opportunities. Well, not two. I was expecting once we took out this low, if we had a pullback here, I would have looked to continue shorting down to here and then look to reverse this back to the upside. But we obviously never got a pullback. So now it's just, this is the low, this is the high, this is the range. We got inefficiency here. We have some liquidity resting below here. We have this area of demand that caused a change of character. So a pullback into this region is probably going to look good for buyers. So that would be my perspective on Hey SA, how you doing? Hope you're well. Now if gold breaks out of this range here, then I'll look to target this high and keep this pushing to take out this here. If we fail to break above this region, then I'll just close the rest of my trade out. Let's have a look at oil. I've not had a look at oil in a while. So oil is interesting. Oil, we had this break above these highs and swept all of this liquidity here. And then what we did was we reacted to this level of supply, as you can see, and then started to pull back. So I think there'll be opportunities for buyers in gold in the coming up soon. We've shifted above here. We have mitigated this supply, but what I would like to see on gold, on oil, is here's that daily indecision candle before the rally, a pullback into 70 to 68.5, and see this level hold. And you can see we have this perfect level of demand within here. So that's a key level on gold, on oil. We filled out this range. We have this area of imbalance here. And we have this perfect area of demand resting within this. So this could be a good area for price to come back into to continue longing this. As you can see, the last pullback we had was this low to there, and then we had a breaker structure to the downside, and we had a change of character back to the top side. So there was our change of character. Now if we go back onto the daily, we've had this huge sell-off, so this shift could be a good indication that we're entering a bit of a pullback on the higher time frame. So anyone that trades oil, I would keep an eye out for this range down over here when once we get back into it. Now USD JPY was a trade that I'd called last week or start of this week, but actually it was in the weekly watch list. We had a change of character, came back into this region here. What did we sell off here? 162 pips. So you can see as it stands, price reacted from this area of demand, but we do have one below. So are we going to head back down? We'll need to wait and see, because so far we've had a change of character back to the top side, but which is the range that price is working within. Price is working within this high and this low. So we could get a pull back into an area of supply somewhere like here and see price sell off and create a new internal breaker structure over here to the downside, and then mitigate this and then continue pushing back up. Let's get Euro USD. So Euro USD tapped into this area of daily supply. As you can see, we're good to hear, good to hear. So we're still in this uptrend. You can see the 4-hour low is still protected. We haven't created a new 4-hour high for this low to be the significant low. AU, yeah, I'll have a look at AU. So I would like to see a 4-hour close above price to mitigate this level. So this then becomes a new low for us to then come down, have a change of character and a pullback, and then potentially look to short. Right now it's like we still need to close above this on the 4-hour, which we haven't done. So AU overall, I'm still expecting AU to continue pushing down, fill out all of this range and this imbalance that sits in like 0.64500 and 0.64000. You can see momentarily we had a push above this previous high, which was in this downtrend. We had this low, we had this lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. This was all internal, and then here we shifted above. But then very quickly we shifted above, we came down, we had a change of character back to the downside. And then when price came here, it mitigated this area of supply, and then you could see we rolled over here. So not only did we have a change of character, we had a break of structure. So AU, first target, heading to take out this previous week low. But for me personally, you know, here's our 4-hour structure. You kind of want to see at least a pullback into this region before kind of shorting. We have lots of liquidity built up over here, and we have this area of imbalance and this indecision candle and this area of supply that caused this push. So I would be looking at the next 4-hour pullback here before price, in my opinion, target 1 takes out this previous weak swing low and then heads back down towards this area, which aligns pretty well with a daily pullback. So if you see this as the entire daily swing, there's your daily lower low, there's your higher low, because you marginally broke above that. You can see this region aligns nicely. This area aligns nicely. So I could see price continuing down into this zone. So yeah, where price is, there's no trade as of yet. You know, you could technically be sitting there saying potentially look at buying this back up if you wanted to. Price action is a bit messy over here. You know, we did have a change of character over here. We do have some demand here, but I think that, you know, you'd probably want to see a cleaner push above. If you had a change of character here, I would wait for like a pullback, a next break of structure, then to start trading this pullback back to the upside. But until that point, I would leave it alone. And if you don't like trading counter trend trade, then, and you just want to go with the overall dominant trend, you then just want to personally wait for price to get back up into 0.67400 before continuing shorting this, because we've clearly shifted market structure back to the downside. So you could see AU, it's now reacting to this area of supply and pushing down, and this is where it's important to understand and manage risk and take profits off the table, because price could come down and roll over, you know, you don't know, or price could just pull back and then continue pushing higher. Yeah, I would. If you're looking to count a trend, I would just say, yes, we have had a change of character, but I would personally just say, right, okay, change of character, see, can you get another break of structure and then a retracement? Then you have much more higher confidence, you know, that price is entering a pullback. Because right now, what's price reacting off of? Price is reacting off of this area of supply. So price could continue rolling over and continue this 4-hour bearish trend. So, you know, you don't really just want to be taking anything here just yet. If we can get a breaker structure above, then you're seeing supply fails, you're seeing a change of character and a breaker structure, and then you have a decent, you know, you have a decent a range to work within to continue price back to the upside before the next continuation to the downside. So you don't need to aggressively jump into it, you know. Do we have any news today? Let's have a look. Yeah, so we have advanced GDP. Quarter on quarter. So previous was 2.6. Forecast is 2%. So it'll be interesting to see what that comes in at. And then we have unemployment claims. So unemployment claims have been above forecast every time over the last 3 that have been printed. So April 6th it was 200k forecast, 228 were printed. April 13, 233, and then it was 239 printed. April 20th, 240, 245 printed. So today's forecast is 247. So it'll be interesting to see what these numbers come out at. DXY, yeah, so DXY is it's kind of in a range right now. You know, we have this. So if I go to the weekly on DXY, you can see DXY has reacted from this weekly area of demand, right? That's what we're sitting within. So we retested off of this, we pushed up, and then we kind of came down. So there's 2 things, you know. If I then go down to the daily, here's our daily swing low and there's the daily high. So the way it looks like price is just looking to take out this daily swing low and continue pushing down before you potentially see a pullback and another retracement. But until that point, you could see price perfectly reacted to the extreme low here and started to push up. Now you can see we had perfect market structure, 4-hour breaker structure, 4-hour breaker structure. The last 4-hour breaker structure is this. So that's the high and that's the low we're working with, and this is our range. You know, we're ranging right now within this. So you can see if I mark my fib here, price perfectly tapped into this and then started to sell off. But what we potentially might see is a lower low, lower high, higher low, and then a higher high. You know, we just don't know. It's not breaking down, it's not broken above. If I reverse my fib, you can see price is respecting it on the flip side, and this wick down mitigated this area of demand. So we're pretty indecisive. So at this point, either we need a clear break to the downside and then we take out the daily swing low, and then I would expect, you know, 4-hour structure to continue bearish until where's the next level of demand. on the higher time frame, it kind of sits down within this range, which is at like 98 region before we potentially get a pullback? Or does price find a bottom here and decide to reverse from this point and continue higher? So it's very hard to tell, you know. So DXY is kind of sideways. It's very close to breaking this swing low, but we haven't done so yet. And we need to wait to see in which direction it pushes. And the thing is, a push above here is not necessarily we're going to take out these highs, because, you know, we are creating some perfect liquidity. So if I now mark out my fib range again, price could just come back up, you know, fill out this minor gap that we have and then roll over. So it's in a pretty weird, tricky spot. No worries at all. And sometimes when the markets are like that, you know, you just have to. There's not much any of us can do. You know, just let it give a clear directional bias, and then we react from that, and we take it from there. That's why I always say, you know, stick to your rules, let the market come to you, and, you know, there's always trade opportunities every day. And if you don't get a trade 1 day, 2 days, it kind of is what it is. But for me personally, the way I trade, there's trade opportunities daily. So US 30. Overall, US 30 is, in my eyes, it's still bearish. So if we look at US 30 here, go on to the daily time frame, you can see here we had a breaker structure to the top side on US 30. I'm just going to extend this out a bit. Demand. But what we did was, in this entire downtrend, this was the last area of supply that price mitigated. Over here, we had a 4-hour change of character up over here. And then all of this was the pullback off of this drop. And then we had a breaker structure here. And then here you could see price pulled back here. Hey, morning, Anchor. Price pulled back here on this swing structure. So there was the high that caused the previous low to break, and then there was the low. So all of this price action has been a pullback. Now we've seen a shift in market structure. I'm expecting continuation back to the downside. And you could see, like, where did price react from? Price reacted from this last area of supply in this entire price action. So the last area of supply was here. So if I take this across, inch perfect, you could see that. So now, if I go to the 4-hour chart, you know, I've only marked this area as this is the area of demand, but you could see we've clearly shifted bearish. You know, we were creating these, and again, at this point we created some nice higher highs and higher lows, and then we just kind of rattled off to the top side. So where we are right now, we could see we've taken out all of these previous lows here. So overall bearish, but, you know, we're going to get a pullback and then continue down, in my opinion. it's pretty difficult to try sitting here buying this from where it is. Like on a lower time frame, where's the next area of demand? It's within this range. So, you know, the only time you want to start buying this is when you start to see market structure shift bullish. So if we go to the 4 hour, what's our current 4 hour high? You know, this is the high up here that basically caused all of this bearish price action. Now within this, if we go to the high up over here, you could more or less see we're creating lower lows and lower highs, lower lows and lower highs. So as it stands, where's the last low and where's the last high? You know, this is the last internal breaker structure that we got. So the current range, you know, we're working with is, this is the last lower high, this is the last lower low. So there's no guarantee that price is gonna, come all the way up to here before selling off, because this is all internal market structure. So the real trade, in my opinion, is a pullback and a continuation to the downside, because 4 hour is bearish. The higher time frame, as we've discussed, you know, we had a 4 hour breaker structure here. This was the pullback area. The pullback's complete. You can start to see selling pressures come into the market. Last bit of supply was mitigated. So overall, there's downside. So I wouldn't be trying to trade against this trend, because market structure's clearly shifted bearish. So trying to buy this it's pretty ludicrous. The only time I would buy this is I would personally expect to see a mitigation of some higher time frame demand. If we come up here and we get a pullback and create a new low, take out this previous low, and then you see a shift in market structure, then you could look to buy and trade a pullback on, say, the 4 hour chart to mitigate some levels of supply up over here potentially before the next sell-off. But where it is now, so if we go to New York session here yesterday, you know, you tried buying this, but the market had, so if you tried buying this in New York session, I don't know obviously where you tried buying this, but the trade was always shorts, because you could see here we had a breaker structure here, internal breaker structure. All this push up was just a grab of liquidity above all of this. And you can see all of these equal highs, swept the liquidity. We broke down here. Now the only time I would have bought this is if this area of demand was respected that caused this minor break above. If we did this and price pushed above, then any retracement was okay for buyers as a pullback into some of these areas of supply. But as we've shifted down, we had an internal breaker structure. So the trade would have always been shorting this at this area of supply. So yeah, so that's the range you're working with. You know, you could look for pullback buyers up to like an area of supply here, this range here, of you know, further up here, but I personally wouldn't, because this is all internal. Price could shift at any point in time. You just don't know. You're currently in the buyers on AUDCHF. I'm guessing that's from the weekly watch list, Anchor. Yeah, but that's why it's important. A lot of people feel like they understand market structure, but I can promise you they don't. They just look at, go to US 30, you're just looking at the, you know, if you say you trade in New York session, you know, you're caught up in this here, but you're forgetting everything else that's happened, which plays a massive part in taking these kind of trades. SA, who are you on Discord? Just out of curiosity.
Ah, I put G35. Nice, long time, mate. Hope you're well. Be right back, guys. Sorry about that, guys. I just had a phone call. So I think, yeah, I'm probably going to cut it there, guys. I've covered off like the pairs I'm in. We've gone through some analysis. And yeah, take it easy. I'll catch up with you guys soon.